I think you are on a crusade against Dwayne Johnson. That's what I think.
Okay.
First it's the urine bottles. Now it's the salmon.
Okay, but both of these things, I didn't say them. I didn't perpetuate this story. I'm just reading the stories as they are.
Well, at least we have an answer to that question after 25 years.
What?
Do you smell what the Rock is cooking? And it's grilled salmon.
Grilled salmon.
So, Lacey, you've been following this Diddy stuff?
Yep, it's pretty dark and disgusting and wild.
It gets like just when you think you're like, oh my God, then something else comes out, like tunnels under his house and stuff.
It gets worse and worse and worse.
I'm dialed in because if he gets to testify, he's going to bring everybody down. And I am so curious as to who is on that list.
I mean, when someone's backed into a corner and they have nothing to lose, they're going to be vindictive. I mean, his whole thing was that he recorded all these people and kept all these secrets and did all these things that it would not surprise me if stuff came out of this. I also found it interesting that already 50 Cent is working on a docuseries about Diddy and about this whole thing. It's even gone into, he was working on the docuseries to begin with, but now it's gone even crazier from all the news and the arrests and the indictments and whatnot. He put out some tweet that was like, see, I told you I wasn't going to be at any Diddy parties or anything, and this is why. But taking a step outside of it, it's so interesting to me that streaming giants like Netflix are constantly looking for what is that current trend, what is that current news event, show, etc., that everyone's talking about, and how can we translate this into content for our streaming platform.
Oh yeah.
So I can imagine that that phone call was quick, and that signature was quickly
made. Yeah, I mean, Netflix does fictional tellings of real serial killers, so but it's gonna be the biggest trial since the O.J. Simpson trial. I think this is going to be something people watch, people focus on, people talk about at work, people talk about at home.
They're saying that already. They're comparing it to O.J.
It's going to be insane, and I'm sure I'm going to be dialed in because I'm so curious to see who else out there that we were watching movies of or listening to music of turned out to be pretty despicable people as well. But so that covers that. But welcome everybody to Nerdy and Nice. We are happy to have you here, and thank you for listening. So if you're new to Nerdy and Nice, please follow us or subscribe to us on your favorite podcast app, whether that's Apple or Spotify, or you can watch the video version on the TRB YouTube channel, youtube.com/@TRB podcasts. Welcome though. We are so happy to have you. We have a lot of cool topics we're going to get to in just a moment here. So Lacey, are you ready to go?
I am. Let's get into what's happening.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Enough, I get the point.
So it's fall. That means you're going to start to hear rumblings of Oscar campaigns and what's good, who's standing out. We already talked about last week. Selena Gomez is kind of at the top of the supporting actress with Ariana Grande and Lady Gaga, which is interesting just because you have these pop girlies that are making their transition into Oscar-winning actresses. But obviously outside of Gaga, she's already there, but you know what I mean. Similarly, it looks like Deadpool and Wolverine are also setting their sights on some Oscar campaigns. Well, Disney is, including Hugh Jackman going for supporting actor and more. Now, this isn't the first time that Marvel's tried to go for Oscars. They did try to go with it with Black Panther. It didn't win. Then they had supporting actress with Angela Bassett for Black Panther 2. She did not win, but she was still nominated. John, what are your thoughts? Do you think Deadpool and Wolverine has the ability to win an Oscar? And do you think Hugh Jackman is that actor?
Hugh Jackman could easily have won Oscars before.
Yeah.
When I think of the movie Prisoners, I think his performance in that was incredible. I think even in The Prestige, he was amazing.
I liked him in Greatest Showman.
Yeah, he's just a I mean, he's going to have the legacy of Wolverine as the thing that people know him for most, but Hugh Jackman can do anything. He can sing, he can do theater, he can do
He's that
serious,
good.
he can do comedy, and he does all of that. He does a lot of that in Deadpool and Wolverine. I would not be shocked if he gets a nomination because of how respected he is as an actor. I don't think he would win for this. I would love to see it because I think the Oscars are a little too stuffy sometimes. But I do think it'll make some buzz with the Golden Globes, which I know people are souring on because of the Hollywood Foreign Press. But I think even they're pushing for Ryan Reynolds to get a Golden Globe lead nomination for Deadpool. So, and you know, the new box office awards that they do with the Golden Globes, and then they're also going to submit this movie for visual effects Oscars and all that stuff. So
Probably costuming.
Yeah, oh yeah. And all the Deadpools, yeah, for sure. And we'll see where it lands, but I'll always be rooting for Hugh Jackman. I'm a massive fan of his. I was first introduced to him via the first X-Men. I was like, who is this guy? Who's this tall guy playing Wolverine? And I had his poster on my wall in my college dorm as a freshman, and here he is 25 years later, with apparently no end in sight, still killing it as Wolverine, because he had some serious monologues in this movie. He had a lot of humor, great action, a lot of heart. Like, yeah, it's a Deadpool Marvel movie, but Hugh Jackman's always going to deliver a great performance no matter what he's doing. So
Yeah, and we've argued before, going back a couple weeks for Robert Downey Jr., that some of his, if not his best work, was as Tony Stark, and he
yeah,
never won anything for that. So
yeah,
I think that there is a case here for not just how popular it was, like you said, with the box office thing, which Barbie won last year, but just because it's that good. It was a great, entertaining, heartfelt, funny, so
yeah,
funny movie that I agree with you. Sometimes the Oscars and award shows in general tend to favor these like artsy, indie, I don't know, dramatic features.
yeah.
And just because it's dramatic and it's, has deep story and all this other stuff for serious topics doesn't necessarily make it the movie that should be the winning movie. Like,
Yeah.
I thought Top Gun Maverick should have won Best Picture last year. I stand by that. I believe it. It was the best movie to come out that year in so many different ways. But I feel like it got nominated, but it got overlooked because it was, a box office blockbuster flight movie. And I feel like people look at that and they go, that's not an Oscar winning film. I feel like the Oscars
Yeah.
have just become this pedestal that unless you hit these certain check boxes of like serious, someone with a disability or someone in some type of hardship,
Someone's
or
dying of a terminal
someone's
disease.
dying, that it doesn't mean it can win. And I just don't think we should make our films represent only those things. And this goes back to something we had talked about recently on TRB with Donald Glover, who had said, Star Wars can be so serious. Sometimes we just want to be entertained, and that's what connects us as humans, wanting to be entertained and have a good time. And I think that could translate here as well. So hopefully he does win. He, just like you said, he could do anything. I think he should have won an Oscar for his Hot Ones interview.
Yeah. Yeah, and if people haven't seen Prisoners, like people look at that movie Prisoners, and I think it gets overlooked because like Denis Villeneuve did Blade Runner and Dune and stuff, but like watch Prisoners and tell me Hugh Jackman didn't absolutely crush in that movie. It came out in 2013. It's a great one. But I'll say this, Lacey, and my final point on this one. If he doesn't win for Wolverine, all he has to do is play the Joker, and then he'll have a better chance of winning an Oscar.
It
Because
seems that way.
it's happened twice. So there is a precedent for comic book Oscar
But
wins.
serious ones.
Dark and serious. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. Always rooting for Hugh Jackman, but I like that they're taking a shot. Why not?
You know what won't win an Oscar is Ryan Reynolds playing Green Lantern. But that might change because there is a new Green Lantern,
What a segue.
supposedly. You're so welcome. Wink. That the wink was for the audio people. Emmy winner Kyle Chandler, who's I think best known for Friday Night Lights. Someone might disagree with me, but I think that's the thing most people love him for, is in negotiations to star in Lanterns, HBO's high-profile series based on the Green Lantern DC comic, sources tell Deadline. No one is commenting, but I hear Chandler is poised to play Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern. That's what the writer says. But I saw this all over the place this past week. People commenting if he's a good fit, if he's not a good fit, who is this guy, which is embarrassing if you don't know who this is because he's a great actor. John, are you a fan of Green Lantern? Are you a fan of Kyle Chandler? And would you watch this?
I'm not really a fan of Green Lantern, but I have to admit I never really gave it a shot. So maybe I could be. Not one of my bigger DC characters, but look what Marvel did with Iron Man, who for me wasn't really like, if you picked a character and said we're going to start a new Marvel Cinematic Universe, who was going to say Iron Man? You know? Now this, like, what's interesting about this, and I'll talk about it later, but I watched the first episode of The Penguin. I guess I'll just talk about that now.
People love it. People love The Penguin.
It was one of the first shows I wanted to rewatch immediately.
Really?
Yes.
That makes me so happy for you.
Well, yeah, because I remember when it was first announced, I was like, well, they're doing a whole new DC, so this whole the Batman thing isn't going to have legs. So are they just doing this just to do it? I mean, I was very like soured on the whole idea. And then when I heard Matt Reeves talking about how this is going to be a segue into the Batman 2, I'm like, no, this is going to have meaning. And then I watched it, and I'm like, holy cow, HBO.
It's a mob show.
HBO doesn't mess around with TV shows. They make good TV shows. And then here we are with Lanterns, another DC series for HBO. And I am a big Kyle Chandler fan. The first season of Bloodline was one of my favorite seasons of a television show. Him and Ben Mendelsohn played off each other so well. Friday Night Lights, like you said, that's his.
I got to go back and watch that. I've heard great things.
Yeah, that's his probably most popular role for sure. And then he was great even as the FBI agent in Wolf of Wall Street. He's got those classic leading man looks. He has a charm to him, the puppy dog eyes, and he's an actor you always root for. So I think if this is accurate, which I'm assuming it is, I think that is great. Now, how this weaves into what James Gunn is doing, I'm not sure. But I think this is great. And maybe because Kyle Chandler is going to be in it, I give Green Lantern a go. Kyle Chandler, plus knowing what HBO is doing with a DC series through Penguin, I'm going to give this one a peek.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about Kyle, oh my God, Kyle Chandler, but it interests me just because I feel like the story of Green Lantern is interesting, and it's gotten a lot of flack just because Ryan Reynolds has taken what he did and kind of made it into a joke with the whole Deadpool thing, which I understand why he had to do it. He basically sacrificed it to make himself look more serious with Deadpool, or for people to take it with a different light. But you can't go against the fact that Green Lantern is one of the biggest superheroes for DC, so it should have its own show, its own movie. You go to any of their Six Flags parks and you see like Green Lantern roller coasters and stuff. So I think they have the opportunity to make it something really cool. And if they get someone on board like Kyle Chandler, who's serious, who people take seriously, who does have the looks, like you said, I would tune into this. I would check it out. I'd give it a couple episodes to see if it's any good. It's right up my alley. It's like a superhero thing, which I love, compared to the Penguin, which I heard is like straight mob. I was like, oh, so I won't like this at all. But I heard it's like very good. People said the Penguin is basically like Sopranos again. Like people were making jokes about how it's very Soprano-esque.
You like the Batman though, right?
I did like the Batman.
And did you like Colin Farrell's Penguin in it? I mean,
he was fine. I like Danny DeVito's Penguin.
Oh, so yeah, the Tim Burton take. Yeah, I mean,
It's a very different Penguin. It's a very different one, and I understand that. I appreciate the Batman for what it is. It's a different take on Batman that's less campy, less kind of
theatrical. I like Burgess Meredith's Penguin from the original Batman TV show.
Sure.
So any iteration of the Penguin I've been interested in, and this one, you're right, it does seem more of like a Tony Soprano type of thing, which is not a bad thing.
It's not bad at all. People
Yeah,
are loving it. Everything I
yeah.
see online about it is how much people have been sharing that picture of him naked a lot, which is an interesting choice. I think
In the
because it's
makeup,
all
yeah.
yeah, because people are like, "This is ridiculous how good this looks." Because it looks so realistic. Not that he looks good being naked. I wanna be clear about
That's like the before and after, like me heading into a weekend and then me after the weekend.
that. Yeah, I would totally see Kyle play this role for the Green Lantern, and I look forward to the casting
Oh my god.
choice of him because I think he'll do a good job. Great
I'm
job.
so excited about DC. It's out of control.
I know, you're like a big DC boy now.
I've always been a big DC boy. They just have stunk. It's
DC fanboy in the house.
like being a New York Football Giants fan. It's been misery and pain for 12 years. We sold our souls to beat Tom
Well,
Brady.
it seems like someone else is into misery and pain because Freddie Prinze Jr. has signed on again for to come back to the I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel film, reprising the role of Ray Bronson from the original 1997 movie and its 1998 follow-up, sources tell Deadline. Deadline revealed Prince Jr. and his co-star Jennifer Love Hewitt were negotiating to return to the franchise when it was confirmed to be in development in early 2023. Hewitt is still very much in negotiations, but Freddie is locked in. John, are you a fan of this movie? I saw this movie a long time ago,
Mhm.
probably admittedly when I was too young to see it because it's obviously a horror movie, but I love Sarah Michelle Gellar and she's in it. And I was a big Buffy fan. And then I saw this movie and I was like, "Oh, this isn't Buffy." I think that was my ignorance of being younger. Um But would you be pumped for another movie? And are you excited to see Freddie come back?
Yeah, I like Freddie Prinze Jr. And yeah, I saw the first one in theaters. I was probably like 16. I probably had to get like a permission slip to go see it or something. I don't know. But like me and my friends, like after the first Scream came out, we became so obsessed with the slasher movies. And then this one came out a year later, which I think Kevin Williamson from Scream was involved with it. And I enjoyed it because I liked the whodunit element of it. I liked that it was like these cool teens, and I wanted to be like
Mhm,
them and that sort of
mhm.
thing. And it was meant for my demographic at the time. What they do with it, I don't know. The only thing I would hope is, I hope if they make another sequel, they like Freddie Prinze and Jennifer Love Hewitt aren't in like cameo mode. Like if you're gonna bring them
Mhm.
back, like just have them be the final people again. Because I looked at the other cast list and I could be naive here or ignorant. I didn't recognize any of the names. So
Mm.
I'm assuming they're coming back to play big roles in this thing. The director doesn't have a lot of credentials.
Mm-mm.
Um, she directed Someone Great in 2019 and Do Revenge. She also wrote Thor: Love and Thunder. Um,
Ooh.
and then the writer who's doing this new I Know What You Did Last Summer, I don't think it has any film credits. So I don't know if this is one of those like, yeah, we'll make it. It's going to be cheap, but we're going to make it
It's
if we
going
can get
right to the streaming service.
yeah, if we can get them back. And so I'm going into this as give me the nostalgia of it. I'm sure whoever the hooked fisherman killer is this time is related to the original guy, you know, from the
Mhm.
first movie. It's his kid or something like that. And that's fine. Be predictable, do whatever you got to do. And let me just have this fun, ridiculous 90-minute whodunit. And that's all I really need. And seeing Jennifer Love Hewitt again, I always liked her, and Freddie Prinze Jr. Let's do it.
Yeah, interestingly enough, I didn't know this. In 2021, they actually did a Prime Video series of I Know What You Did Last Summer with Sarah Goodman based on the Duncan novel produced by Amazon Studios. I didn't even know this happened. But it looks like
Mm.
they're pivoting back from TV to go back into the movies. I don't know how the TV show will play into the lore of I Know What You Did Last Summer.
It was probably its own like
Thing.
take.
Yeah, fresh take on it. I probably will not watch this. I'm not a big horror gore type of girl. However, I do love this movie for who's in it because it was kind of earlier, I think, in a lot of their careers, I would say.
Oh
And
yeah.
specifically for the one shot that I love so much, the "What are you waiting for?
Mhm.
What are you" that they then spoofed in Scary Movie.
Yes.
Oh, so good. So
Yeah.
funny that I can't see this title and not think of that scene.
And Freddie Prinze Jr. and Sarah Michelle Gellar are still married with kids, and they met on this movie, I believe. So that has significance for them, you know.
I watched a podcast about with Freddie recently where he talked about meeting or he was doing an interview where he talked about meeting Sarah Michelle Gellar because they recently just celebrated their like big anniversary.
Mhm.
I think it was like 20 years or something like that. And he said that they originally were friends and then they had dinner plans with other people that then canceled. So then they just kept the dinner plans. And by the end of the dinner, they were like, "Oh, is something happening here?" And then they got together.
He's like, "You want to go back to my house and play with my Star Wars toys?" Yeah, you're right though. A lot of early elements of these careers, Freddie Prinze Jr., Jennifer Love Hewitt was just off of Party of Five, or still at Party of Five.
Yeah.
Sarah Michelle Gellar, I think, just started Buffy or right
Might
around
have
there.
just started it, yeah.
And then Ryan Phillippe too. I think that was my
Mhm.
introduction to him as an actor. So yeah, we'll see how it is. Hopefully, it's a fun, scary romp, and that's all it needs to be. So we'll see, and hopefully they have big roles. That's all I got.
So, continuing on with TV, someone that I know you're a big fan of, John, Bill Hader is developing an HBO comedy series, a big HBO show today, guys, with Barry Ryder. The official logline for the untitled project states, "A woman in a small town has a big secret revealed." They've both been a Hader and the writer Duffy Boudreau, uh,
Boudreaux.
Boudreaux. They've been friends since teenagers, will serve as co-writers and executive producers on the project, having previously worked together on award-winning hit series Barry, of course, for HBO. This is coming from Variety. John, big Barry guy over here, right? You
Yeah,
like Barry?
I liked Barry. I thought, yeah, I liked Barry. Yeah,
All right. Are you interested in this? Was Barry a comedy series?
I like a black comedy or dark comedy.
Dark comedy?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Are you interested? Are you on board with this? Or are you willing
Oh,
to see anything Bill Hader does?
anything Bill Hader does that he's involved in from a creative standpoint, I will
Mhm.
watch. I think
He's so funny.
he is one of, if not the best SNL performer of all time. I
Wow, over Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love Will Ferrell, but the nuance to Bill Hader's performance and
Mhm,
how he was able to like dig deep to these people who were stars of decades ago, and he took a very unorthodox route to a lot of his characters, whereas
mhm.
Will Ferrell was like the popular guy, and he would do the ones that were like, these are going to be
Loud.
laughers. Bill
Yeah.
Hader's like, 10% of the audience might like this skit, but they are going to effing love this skit for the rest of their life.
I
Like,
don't know, Stefan comes up online, like, all the time.
sure, but then he does like Vincent Price, who, like, a lot of people
It's
watching
true.
SNL today probably have no idea, who Vincent Price is, because he acted in The Fly in 1954 and all those other horror movies. But
Mhm.
and his voice is so good. His Al Pacino and his impressions. He's just immensely talented. And I thought Barry was a huge step for him because he was able to sort of flex his acting chops, because that movie does have a lot of that show has a lot of darkness in it.
Mhm.
Um, and I was surprised. I was like, wow, Bill Hader, like, really bring it. I remember seeing,
What's that series about?
so he is a hitman, and then he goes out to LA for a job, and he catches like the acting bug. So he tries to live a double life where he's like trying to become an actor, but he's also a hitman.
So he's a hitman that, like, kills people at night, but then during the day is going to auditions?
Mhm.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That sounds like a weird dream Bill Hader had that was like, "You know what?
It's
What
good. It was a good
what if?"
show. Yeah, it was a good show, and like I remember seeing that movie he did with Kristen Wiig that was like an indie movie called Skeleton Twins.
Oh, you sent me that scene the other day when I was having a bad day.
Yeah, and yeah, they play siblings, and he plays her gay brother. And I was like,
Mhm.
when I saw that movie, that was the first time I was like, dude, Bill Hader can act, man. Like this
Mhm.
dude is good. Like he was always really funny, but the dude can act. It's like how people felt when they saw Sandler in like Uncut Gems or whatever. So I think he's still
Or
relatively
Robin
young.
Williams. People say the
Oh
same thing about
yeah,
Robin Williams, yeah.
he's still relatively young in the grand scheme of things. Like I think the sky's the limit for Bill Hader. So I'm excited to see he's doing this again. HBO doesn't mess around with their TV programming. They were the ones who basically started this stuff, and
Yeah.
they still deliver every time. It's not like it's. There may be shows you're like, I don't want to watch Ballers because I'm not a fan of The Rock. It's like, all right, you don't want to watch Entourage because you don't like the bro culture of. I understand that, but those shows were made really well. And I think with the writing that these two did for Barry, whatever this is, even with this own little snippet, sounds like it might be a mystery. I'm very intrigued. So I hope this gets made. I hope people watch it, and I look forward to checking it out. Big Bill Hader guy, no surprise from me, but everything about it's also steering me towards it.
I'm definitely intrigued, so I guess we'll see what comes of it, but yeah, I've never watched Barry. I gotta give it a chance, I think, because I've heard great things about it, and I just haven't gotten into it. I do wanna say, though, real quick, kind of a tangent. Did you see this week when they brought up The Rock going on Hot Ones?
I know you sent it to
This
me.
is
I did
the
not see it.
weirdest thing I've The Rock, every time I see him in the press, it's always some weird thing that he's doing or something like his team has done that people are like, "Huh?" So, Hot Ones, as you know, they get some of the best guests over there. We were just talking at the top. This is kind of a Hot Ones promo today, about the Deadpool Wolverine one that they did was so good. But their team over there spoke to The Rock, and they've been trying, I guess, for years to get him on. And for those of you that don't know, Hot Ones is this interview show um, that now is on Hulu, actually, but it started off on YouTube. And they have 10 chicken wings, and each chicken wing is a hot sauce that gets hotter as they go up. And while I think the tagline is like hot wings with even hotter questions or some stupid thing like that, some marketing plug. But as they go up, the hot sauces get more and more significantly hot and disgusting. So you're watching the actor or creator, Gordon Ramsay did it, chef, uh, answer these interview questions that are very kind of deep and very researched questions while eating these ridiculously hot wings. So the team has been trying to get The Rock on. The Rock has a lot of different projects. He's very popular. So they're like, hey, this makes a good fit. His team finally got back to them after ignoring them for a while and said that he would come on if he was allowed to eat pieces of grilled salmon in the hot
Mm.
sauce and not wings.
In fairness to The Rock, like, is there context or a time frame to this?
I don't know.
Does
I
he
don't
just
know.
because if it was like before WrestleMania, I'm sure he didn't want to start firing down 10 fried fat chicken wings. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but the chicken wings are this big. How much fat is he really getting from those?
look, I, I'm sure I'm sure
It's
the
weird to go back to a very popular show like Hot Ones, which, by the way, if you don't know, it is like one of the most popular shows online. To go back to the show that is literally hot wings, which they've made exceptions sometimes. I think for Millie Bobby Brown, they let her do like chicken nuggets.
no, it was like cauliflower or something. It was
Was
like
it?
yeah, it was like not even
I thought it was
meat.
chicken nuggets.
They've had
Oh,
people do non-bone. They've had people do boneless wings, but someone did a vegetarian one. So they did like a buffalo
okay, but
cauliflower.
not salmon though. That's weird.
Well, that's not as weird as vegetables. At least The
Oh.
Rock's still putting down something that had a mother.
Maybe I'm weird. I think it's weird to go from hot
I
wings
think
to like
I think
pieces
I
of
think
salmon.
I think you are on a crusade against Dwayne Johnson. That's what I think.
Okay. Let's
First it's the urine bottles.
I
Now
didn't
it's the salmon.
Okay, but both of these things, I didn't say them. I didn't like perpetuate this story. I'm just reading the stories as they are.
Well, at least we have an answer to that question after 25 years.
What?
Do you smell what The Rock is cooking? And it's grilled salmon.
Grilled salmon. Apparently. All right, ready to get into some trailers?
Oh, I have another great joke on our the Resistance broadcast episode coming out later today. So, Kylo Ren. Spoiler alert.
All right, let's get into some trailers.
Oh God, I love that movie.
All right, the successful teaming of Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan continues. First we had Black Panther, then we had Creed, and now we have Sinners, which it looks like a Jordan Peele movie.
Mm-hmm.
It has, you know, a black written, directed, and starring movie horror, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like when you watch this trailer, and if it said like directed by Jordan Peele, I'd be like, oh yeah. But
yeah,
no,
it does look like that.
It's Ryan Coogler, it's Michael B. Jordan, and the trailer had me at the edge of my seat because I'm not the biggest horror fan either. Like I said before, I had my slasher phase, and I love those like teen slasher movies. But anything supernatural or possession or anything like that, which I don't know what this movie is. Like this,
it's vampires.
It is? Are we supposed to know that?
Yeah, they released it saying that. That's what
Oh,
it was.
okay. All right. I can probably get into this. It looks like it takes place in the past, and I am not exactly sure what to make of it, but the trailer was really good. I thought it brought a lot of stress out of me, and the way it was cut and shot had me anxious, and it looks like Michael B. Jordan's about to deliver another great performance with the trust in his director of 3 times now, Ryan Coogler.
Yeah, it's pitched as a Southern vampire film. So it's people in the South with vampires, which the vampire genre takes place a lot in the South, especially like Anne Rice books and stuff. Interview with a Vampire, I think, was New Orleans, I think. So this makes sense for that kind of space for vampires.
Is it up your alley?
The trailer looks a little too creepy for me. I did appreciate the one shot where the woman has like the lantern and she blows it out and the whole screen goes black. Loved that. I loved the use of typography with the letters where it transitioned to the next scene through the letters of like
classic.
Who's directing. Yeah, it just looked very cinematic, the whole trailer. And I loved the use of music. It definitely looks like a very scary, tense movie. And I'm interested to see if Ludwig did the music because he's like always with Coogler.
Yeah, it comes out in theaters March 7th. So they're probably still working on it. But I am trying to find out for music. Yep, Ludwig.
Because it definitely had that vibe that he does. He does
Ludwig
a lot of
Göransson, yeah.
He has great beats in his music, like great rhythm.
They have their formula when they work together. Ryan Coogler's writing and directing, Michael B. Jordan starring, Ludwig's doing the music, and then the supporting cast, you have Haley Steinfeld, Jack O'Connell, Wunmi Masaku, Jamie Lawson, Omar Benson Miller, and Delroy Lindo are the lead cast. So 90 million budget for a horror movie, that's pretty big. So we'll see what it does, but I have a feeling this movie is going to be very successful.
I think it's going to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
The horror movie has been crazy lately, especially like, I don't know, the past few years, horror genre is like the only genre making tons of money.
Yeah, because a lot of them are low budget. So even when they're not making tons of money, they're very profitable.
Yeah.
But this one, 90 million, that's high, but I think they're going to do just fine. And I wouldn't be shocked if this time next year we're talking about Sinners 2. But next one we have is another Marvel entry. This time it is a pseudo sequel to Black Widow. We have Thunderbolts, and we have David Harbour, Florence Pugh, one of my favorites, Julia Louis-Dreyfus in a villain role. What do you think of this trailer, Lacey?
So Thunderbolts is the culmination of Black Widow, Winter Soldier, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, as well as the most recent Ant-Man movie, because the girl that is wearing that kind of ghost outfit is the villain in the most recent Ant-Man film. I I don't want to be a hater, guys. This movie looks lame to me. And the reason because there's nothing in it that looks unique, that intrigues me. It just feels very much like they're doing Marvel's version of Suicide Squad, and that's been done. Particularly in the most recent edition of Suicide Squad, it was done by James Gunn. He did the second one. So it just feels like even the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character looks very much like the I'm blanking on her name, the actress who was in Suicide Squad. It's like the same kind of dynamic. You have all
Margot
these-
Robbie.
No, not Margot Robbie.
Oh.
It's like the main person. She's like the cop that's leading the whole group, that brings the group together. I forget what her name. She's a very famous actress. I'm just totally blanking. She's in How to Get Away with Murder.
Is it the first Suicide Squad or James Gunn's Suicide Squad?
The first one.
I will tell you right now who that is. And
Viola Davis.
Is John Cena.
No, Viola Davis. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So Julia Louis-Dreyfus reminds me very much of that character. It's like kind of the overarching characters. Like, I brought all you together to do this thing together. You're going to have to get along. And they have the scene where all the characters are together and they're like, I'm trying to hurt you. No, what are you doing here? Me, you, what's going on? I couldn't get into it. And I think the other thing that's a little bit of a disconnect for me is I liked Black Widow. It was fine. I think they should have released that movie at a different time period. I thought they released it really weirdly during COVID on Disney Plus, and the order of the way Marvel movies should have been released, like that should have been released before Endgame. It felt weird having it come after Endgame. Because then the timeline's doing this kind of like zigzaggy back forth thing. I also have an issue with Florence Pugh's character from Black Widow to Hawkeye. So Hawkeye, she comes in and she's kind of like witty, jokey. I'm making mac and cheese in your apartment while you're not here. Do you want some? And then to go from that to this, I don't understand. Like, is this before that jokey Florence Pugh character? Is it after that? Because her hair is different. She has the short hair because she had to shave her head for that recent movie that's coming out with Andrew Garfield. So she has shorter hair, which is fine. But it's just when you're looking at these series and movies and you have a character that has extremely long hair that then goes to extremely short hair and then they're back to long hair again, it's jarring. So they have to explain where in the timeline this takes place. And it's hard for me to place that character that I met in Hawkeye, which I loved Hawkeye, by the way, to this character that seems like I don't know what's going on with my life. Everything's wrong. I have a deep hole in my heart from Black Widow and all this other stuff. And it's like, okay, so does this series happen and then she's fine for Hawkeye? I don't know. So I guess it just feels like a cash grab. This series, it feels like they're just bringing everybody back, and I think they expected more excitement for this series, and it's not getting that much excitement.
Yeah, I mean, I am a big Julia Louis-Dreyfus fan, obviously from Seinfeld, but even Veep, everything she's done, she's one of the funniest comedic television actors, in my opinion, of all time. So and Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, who I guess she becomes Madam Hydra. I apologize if I'm messing this up.
No, that's right. She was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show where she was introduced, and that was like a big deal. I was like, oh, she's here.
Yeah, so she's been involved with that show, and she was in Hawkeye, Black and Wakanda Forever.
She was at the end of Black Widow. She came in like the after credit scene or whatever.
Right. And she appears in Wakanda Forever as the new director of the CIA. and she arrests Ross for his conspiracies, and then that leads her into whatever this is. So it's hard to keep track. I'm not gonna lie. The trailer didn't do a ton for me either. I also felt like the trailer was really long, too long. It was like 3.5 minutes or something like that. And usually, if it's something I love, I'll be like, yeah, give me 3 more minutes. But by this one, I paused it to see if it was done yet. So
and what's the song? They always use the same kind of like
it was Pixies. Where's My Mind? Which
the Pixies, but then they made it like cinematic. It's like duh, 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 and they're like, ugh.
they do the emotional slow version, then the da da da, and then they hit you with the normal chorus to close it out. And it's so funny because that song is used so much, and I think the first big use of it in a movie was Fight Club for sure. The end of Fight Club, when they're blowing up the whole city. And I remember hearing it back then, and all my friends were in college, were listening to it, like, yeah, the Pixies, you know. But that song's about the lead singer was like stoned and he went snorkeling and he thought like he was talking to a fish. That's what that song's about. And people use it. And you know what's funny about it? People use it for all these deep emotional moments. My wife and I used it for her walkout music at our wedding, just a piano and violin, a string version of it. Because it is a beautiful song. So it's so funny when we
wait, she walked down the aisle to that song?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Interesting.
There's a beautiful string quartet and piano version of it. That they use in like those Instagram reels that make you sad about existentialism in life.
So why would you have her walk down to a sad existential life?
But it's sad because you love so much, you know, and it's that. Like
okay.
they always
Sorry,
put it.
I thought you were saying something different.
No, they always put it on those videos of like, you only have this many months with where your kids are going to want to play with you. You know that stuff.
Oh
Yeah. So it's about how they deliver it. So I get them putting this in. It's a popular song, but for me, Thunderbolts, I'll be honest, I'm not going to go see this in theaters probably. When it hits Disney Plus, I'll maybe check it out, but I might not. I feel like there's so much Marvel stuff right now that this doesn't feel to me like there's so many big Marvel things I haven't watched that this is not a priority. You know what I'm saying? And I don't mean to disparage it in any way, but just it's not interesting to me. I'm sorry. Yeah. That now we have a genuine spinoff. We have Ballerina, the spinoff to John Wick, which is now going to be a vehicle for Ana de Armas's character, which I didn't see the last John Wick yet, so I got to see that.
I didn't, but I got very confused because this character in this trailer looks very much like her character in the James Bond movie.
Bond, yeah, yep. But yeah, so she debuts in the most recent John Wick movie. They're spinning her off, and surprise to me, I guess Keanu Reeves is going to appear in this because it takes place between John Wick 3 and 4. What'd you think of the trailer? And are you a De Armas fan? Because I think that might be a thing that will push people to go see this.
I think she's great. She's probably one of the most beautiful people on this planet. Like,
really?
Yes, I think she's one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. And
all right,
you look at her and you're like, the life I would have if I looked like that. She's just so good looking. Like, you can't imagine being that good looking and walking down the street. Like, she's just that pretty. But anyway, she looks awesome in this. But again, I got confused because she played a very similar character in James Bond. But I left James Bond saying, wow, they should make her the next thing in James Bond because she was amazing, and here they're doing it here. So they jumped on it quicker than the people in Bond, which is not surprising because the Bond people are dropping the ball left and right.
Oh, they take forever. They always take forever, yeah.
I'm super intrigued by this. I don't know what the story is. I haven't seen the latest John Wick. I don't think I even saw the first John Wick. I've just seen scenes of it, which is surprising to me because my husband loves this kind of stuff. But I love her, so I would totally see this. I love the cameo of Keanu Reeves at the end Like that really made it for me when he walks on screen. I'm like, oh, this kind of like adds more weight to it. Like it seems more serious.
Exactly. Yeah.
I do have to poke a little fun just because we were just talking about this. They used the Elton John ballerina like tiny dancer song, and they do the same thing where they slow it down and then they add the da da da, and it's like very serious tiny dancer, and she's like fighting people. Which, look, I get it. It makes sense. The song makes sense in the trailer too, because it's like this epic thing and called Ballerina. But I just had to laugh because I forget what it was. There was a video that came out on social media a little long ago where someone did a TikTok that they were like spoofing this, where they were like, every big action thriller or big serious movie does this to the song. And they like played out the song on the piano of like what they do to these songs, where they like, drag it out and make it all mystical and like, oh, what's gonna happen? And then it's like da 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 da. But yeah, I will definitely. I'll see this movie 100%. I look forward to it. Not in the theaters because I don't have time, but streaming.
Right. Yeah, Len Wiseman is directing. He is most famous for having been married to Kate Beckinsale. Who, in my opinion,
Da, 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 da.
in her prime, the most beautiful woman on the planet. That was
She's
mine.
still very beautiful.
She is.
Van Helsing.
I'm just saying.
Also, Hugh Jackman, by the way, top of the show.
Yeah.
Very good in that.
Yeah. Don't try to. You're trying to like paint me as though I'm like an ageist on beautiful women. I'm just saying.
I'm not painting you.
I'm talking 2001 Pearl Harbor through
Van Helsing.
Underworld, Van Helsing, and 2006 Click.
All right. All right.
Yeah. But anyway, Len Wiseman directing. I haven't seen all the John Wicks. I think I still have to watch 3 and 4. So I have to do that before I do this. Yeah. Or do I watch? How about this? What if I watch 3, then wait for this, then watch 4, and do the full like chrono order?
I might do that.
Yeah.
I might do that as well.
All right. Good cast too.
Mm-hmm,
Angelica Houston, Ian McShane, Gabriel Byrne. They see, this is the thing. Like, this isn't like a spin-off just to like cash grab it. They're doing a spin-off and they're trying to make sure it holds the same weight as John Wick.
Their cinematic universe for John Wick is high quality stunt work, fight scenes, and storytelling, and
accurate fire rounds and everything.
One of the things that when people bring up John Wick is they always talk about the stunt work and the camera work, like the scenes where there's one long shot of John Wick going through this house killing people. It's incredible. So that's what I expect going into this movie as well, is that they're going to bring the best of the best to do stunt work, fight scenes, and cinematography.
Which is perfect because the guy who basically developed and created it, Chad Stahelski, started as a stuntman. He was the stuntman for Brandon Lee in The Crow. Obviously, we know what happened with Brandon Lee's tragic death. But then he wound up being Keanu Reeves' stuntman in The Matrix, and now he made this franchise around Keanu Reeves. It's such a cool full circle thing, and he seems pretty down to earth and cool in interviews from what I've seen at least. So. Mm-hmm. Rooting for it. You're making like they made John Wick, and there was no way they were like, this is going to be $1 billion franchise.
It's better than James Bond at this point, honestly.
It was a very surprise hit, John Wick, and it's just took off from there. They've been able, like, the amount of legs that first movie gave them is it's like a better version of Saw. Like when Saw came out, people were like, what is this? And then everyone was like, that movie is incredible. And now they're on like Saw 10.
You liked the first Saw?
I love the first Saw.
Oh.
Yeah. I love it. I love a twist. I like a good twist.
Why do you say it like that?
Because Robot Chicken, when they were making fun of M. Night Shyamalan, he would show up in these little skits and like change the plot or whatever and just be like, it's a twist. Robot Chicken. Watch it. Pretty good. All right, that's it for trailers. Now let's get into what we're watching.
We can never leave the house, and we'd just probably sit around all weekend and watch TV.
Go on.
What have you been watching the past week or so?
Well, speaking of M. Night, I got around to watching Trap with Josh Hartnett. So, here are
Yep.
my thoughts.
Yeah. Yep.
The premise, amazing. Epic. M. Night pitched this to studios as a serial killer trapped at a Taylor Swift concert. Loved it. Let's go with that. Go. Here's my problem. Problems. One, I think that the first half of the movie is awesome.
Yep.
The premise is great. Unfortunately, they show you most of the good parts in the trailer. Or they build it up in the trailer in a way that the movie takes a weird turn and not in a good M. Night way. Which, by the way, the M. Night way is only good, like, what, twice? In Signs and in Sixth Sense. Any other time, his
Signs
turn,
is my favorite movie. Viv.
his turn never goes the way it should go. Anyway, so from the moment you get introduced, spoilers for anybody that wants to watch this movie, because now that John and I have watched it, we could talk spoilers. So spoilers ahead. From the moment you get introduced to this character at the beginning of the movie, you know up front that he's the killer. From the trailer, from just the way they set it up, you just know. When you're introduced to this concert and you're inside the arena, I remember saying out loud, wow, they're focusing a lot on this pop star. Like they're doing a lot with the music, with all the stuff, with her, a lot of pan shots, holding on her. And I'm sitting there watching it and I go, you know what? She looks a lot like M. Night Shyamalan. Is that his daughter? And then I Googled it while sitting there. And lo and behold, it is in fact a Nepo baby movie spotlight. This girl is his daughter. And she is a composer slash actress in this movie. And I'm going to be honest. The first half of this movie, Josh kills it. He does a great job, literally and figuratively. Chopping people up. Wish there was a little bit more gore, actually. I know that's surprising from what I've said in this show. But they don't show anything. They keep it very PG-13. But like the tensions there, you're like, oh my God, I see an AA call. What's going to happen? The second half takes this wild goose chase.
A full movie review.
I have to get this out. The wild goose chase.
What you watching, Lacey? You got 30? Let's go.
Anyway, they put a focus on the pop star girl, Lady Raven, which come up with a better name, Lady Raven. And they do a whole segment on her where she's talking to people on Instagram Live and like trying to figure out the challenge. It's too much. It literally came across to me like a reel for M. Night's daughter to be like, look at what I did. Look at the acting. Look at the acting of my daughter. And she's not good. Her acting is not good whatsoever. It's too forced. I felt like the scenes after the fact where she's like in a limo and then she like take me to the crime scene and they like take her to the crime scene to like hug the person that was in captivity. It's too much. If you focused on Josh Hartnett and what he was good at and what his story was, the movie would have been 100 times better. And even in the last 15 seconds of the movie where they really focus on Josh's character, it left me being like, wow, Josh is amazing. But the rest of that movie, too much Nepo baby stuff. Like, M. Night, don't have your daughter and stuff. She's not good.
All right.
Other than that, I watched Agatha. Agatha All Along is the name, right?
God.
So I watched the first 2 episodes of that. And I watched it thinking John is going, I almost said Josh because I was just talking about Josh. John is going to hate this show. And I was correct.
You are correct.
I was right. I know John very well. And it's trying very hard to be edgy and to provide, which unfortunately this happens a lot in TV shows now. I would say movies too, but definitely in TV shows. It's trying too hard to have viral social media moments. And when you look at the show in that lens of what are they trying to have people talk about on social media, the writing makes sense. The shots make sense. It just little moments that in the overall story, you're like, why would they include this? It's only to get people to screenshot it and put it online and be like, look at this wacky moment that someone said on this show. I don't know why they made this show. I'm going to be honest. I'm not really sure. It just feels like they had a viral moment with WandaVision and they ran with it. And I'm not discrediting the work that's gone into the show behind the scenes with the music, which is the Robert Lopez couple that does like Frozen and stuff. But man, it's too much. It makes kind of no sense in the bigger scheme of Marvel, and I'm very interested to see where it goes in the long run because I don't think this added anything for me in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Similarly to what I said earlier with Thunderbolts, I don't think that adds anything either. I don't understand the choices that are being made narratively throughout the cinematic universe at this point to make it more impactful. You can't go from having Captain America to Agatha and say they're on the same level of storytelling because they're not.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it too, so might as well knock out the Agatha stuff here. I got through the first 2 episodes, got through those, and then watched the 3rd episode, got 7 minutes in, and I had to turn it off. I was just like, I'm just watching this so that I can say I watched it to talk about it. And it's like, why am I doing that? I'm only on this earth for a finite period of time. I don't need to see Kitty from that 70s show losing her purse in the mud. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not into it. I said this a very long time ago. That whole song and the pandemic, the WandaVision came out in January of 2021. No one's vaccinated yet. Everyone's hunkered down. Everyone's talking about that song. And Disney was like, movie theaters are dead forever, I guess. So we're going to make all these shows. So they greenlit this. And I feel like it's not well written. I feel like this show looks like it was written by AI or something. Half the dialogue doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean anything. When Catherine Hahn is trying to react to things people are saying, they cut away from her. Like, the editing is so chopped up. It is. I think everyone should have their own opinions about things.
It feels cheap, honestly. It feels cheaply done, cheaply written.
But there are things I like that people hate, and there are things that I don't like that people love. I can't wrap my head around how people can watch this and say, this is a good TV show. So.
What is good for me, though, and this is going to make people laugh because I'm going from that to this, is I watched the first few episodes of this season of The Circle, which I love Netflix reality TV shows. And this is one of their TV shows, which is social media based. And you have all these people that live in an apartment building and they can only interact through social media, which is right up my alley. And man, do I love this show. And I came back and they have like 2 brothers from Staten Island playing a woman. They're catfishing.
Oh, God,
and
this is sick.
What?
This is sick.
No, it's not sick.
Catfishing?
But that's the point of the show, is that you have some people that are catfishing and some people that aren't, and you want to figure out the catfishes and get them voted off.
God.
It's the whole point, but they're just hilarious. And it just reminds me like how funny and ridiculous social media is, because it's like, oh, I'm going to think about how I'm going to say this and how I'm going to display this. I kind of want to apply to go on the next season. I'm very tempted to. But anyway, it's a fun show to put on, which I did when I was folding laundry, and that's what I did.
People like their burner accounts. We know that.
I think I actually did finish Only Murders, the latest episode. Did you watch up to the latest episode?
I watched through 5, so yeah, I think so.
Does it end with the photo shoot?
The sneakers?
Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
So yes, I did see that up to the last episode, and I'm not really sure where it's going. So I'll let you take it away.
All right, so that's everything you've watched, right?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, I watched Only Murders also. I got nervous. I talked about this last week. I got nervous about episode 4 because I feel like the Paul Rudd playing the stunt double of the actor he played, getting a little jump the sharky for me. I was worried about that heading into the show, and now I'm steering back towards that. And this episode made it worse. Because Oliver's walking down the street and he's dressed like John McEnroe, and he happens to walk by John McEnroe. I'm like, this is what frustrates me about good TV shows when they do stuff like this.
Matt didn't get that when we were watching it. I got it. He didn't get it.
I mean, I'm sorry he didn't get it, but I think most people were like, really, John McEnroe, you know? But it's like, there was a show on FX I used to like called The League, and it was about these guys who play fantasy football together.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they try to screw up each other's lives to screw up their teams and stuff. Then they start, like 4 seasons in, they're hanging out with actual NFL players and stuff. I'm like, this is stupid. This is so stupid. And now this is happening. I liked when the show was small and there was these 2 failures from entertainment who are just bored and figuring this stuff out in this building. And I'm on the ride, and I'm still going to be on the ride when season 5 comes out, because all I need is Steve Martin and Martin Short having these little like quips with each other and these little subtle moments of physical comedy. The plot doesn't matter anymore. I'm here to watch them and Selena Gomez adding to that, and that chemistry and those funny moments are enough for this show to go on without any story. So I will continue to watch for that, but story-wise, it's starting to get stupid, and I fear that it may have stayed too long due to success. But at the same time, it's giving me more Steve Martin and Martin Short and Selena Gomez, who I think is very good. So I'm torn. I'm going to keep watching, but I think they're running out of steam, and now they're resorting to these cameos. It's like when a bar gets Keno, you know, that bar is going out of business. When a show starts
doing this a lot, and I still have no idea what you're talking about.
People know. People listening know exactly what I'm talking about. If you have a bar in town that's been around, when you see that Keno board up on the screen, you know that bar has 3 to 6 months left. So drink up. But that's what TV shows, when they lose their path and they lose their charm. And I'll even say Seinfeld, when Larry David left, got a little too goofy in seasons 8 and 9. But anyway, I'll still watch. And then Penguin, we talked about, loved it. It was one of the shows that I wanted to watch immediately after watching it again. And there haven't been many Star Wars shows that have done that for me. So for me to say that about Penguin, especially when I was going in, I was dogging on it a bit. But my big one, I watched all of the Mr. McMahon documentary on Netflix.
I gotta watch that. It's on my list. It just came out, so I haven't had the chance to watch it yet.
So for people who know a lot of these stories already, Owen Hart, the Bret Hart thing, Chris Benoit, a lot of that stuff, the steroid scandals, you're gonna feel like it's a retread, but you're hearing McMahon reflect on it, which is cool. The one aspect that blew my mind, and I'm not going to spoil anything details wise, was learning about Vince McMahon's early childhood. That made me be like, oh my God, it all makes sense. And Paul Heyman, who is one of the smartest men in wrestling, they interview everyone on this, by the way. They got everybody, which is great. But Paul Heyman is so smart. He dissected Vince McMahon and why he is the way he is like that. And I was like, that's exactly why he's the way he is. It is very intriguing because they film all of Vince's stuff before all that recent stuff came out. So it was supposed to be more of just this like, yeah, I did some bad stuff, did some good stuff. So it's very odd to watch it this way. And then they end it with a lot of the stuff that had come out. I wish it went deeper. I wish there was more, but I couldn't wait for the next episode to fire up. It is good. And my boy Bret Hart gets a lot of vindication on this one. And he's always my favorite wrestler. I got the little figure of him somewhere. But I recommend it for wrestling fans, but also just anyone who's interested in a real life soap opera in that way, because Vince McMahon is just like a one of a kind, a one of one. And his like just obsessive, crazy way of wanting to beat everybody needs to be studied. It's just absolutely wild. So I assume you're going to watch it, right?
Seeing as I used to work for him, yes, I'll probably watch it.
You used to work for him? Go
I
on.
know, weird. No, I'm good. But I do have to say, it's funny you were saying like, talking about TV getting bad and stuff like that. I do have to comment that John put in the notes that one of the things he's watching is the end of Travis Kelce's football career.
Oh, boy.
By the way, so that premiered this past week, the grotesquerie thing with him.
Oh, couldn't care less.
Someone says that his character, who, by the way, he's the killer, I guess, is what people are saying. He boils a baby, which I was like, this is a weird pivot to make as like America's sweetheart, like goofy boy to go into boiling babies and killing people.
F the patriarchy, right?
That is a choice.
Should
Also,
we title
again,
this episode "The End of Travis Kelce's Football Career"?
no, but it is interesting based on trending stuff online, which everyone's kind of talking about that Ryan Murphy Menendez brothers documentary.
Yeah.
Ryan Murphy also made grotesquerie, so people are like, what is going on with him? Like, why is he making all these choices that are very shocking? But I think people need to remember that that is Ryan Murphy's whole shtick. Like, that's his whole thing. From Glee to Scream Queens, from American Horror Story, everything Ryan Murphy's ever done has been like, let me shock you into being like, oh my God, did they just say that?
Yeah.
Did they just do that? And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen some stuff in some of his shows that I'm like, how did this get approved? And it's because it was Ryan Murphy.
Look at Stephen King.
Yeah, I guess
Like
so.
yeah. I mean, he doesn't seem like he's an actual psycho in real life, and he lives in like rural, maybe even live in Connecticut for all we know. He made up the craziest stuff ever.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, that's what we're watching. See what happens this coming week.
Watching. Let us know what you're watching. Let us know what you think of the show. And thank you to everybody for listening and watching and getting nerdy with us, because Mondays are for the nerds. And we aren't going to have an episode next week. I am going to Disney. Speaking of nerds, I'm going to Disney World this week with the family. So
Disney dad.
Pray for my patience, because I'm a very impatient man and I'm an anxious man. So it's gonna be a test for me, but I'm excited to go. But yeah, no episode next week. We'll pick back up with everybody the following week. It allows me and Lacey to watch more stuff, so that'll be good. But make sure you follow us at Nerdy and Nice Pod on social media, and like we said before, subscribe where you prefer. And of course, our Star Wars podcast, the Resistance Broadcast. Follow us at TRB Podcasts and subscribe to that feed as well. Lacey, let's do our socials, because we haven't been doing those lately. So where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Lacey Gilleran and on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran.
As social media burns to the ground.
It really does. But you can find me there sharing stuff that we're doing and other awesome, funny things.
Even if she's blocked you, so that's good.
I don't block people.
No, I'm saying, but now there you go.
Now it doesn't matter, but I don't want it to make it sound like I do, because I don't.
No. She blocked me once. We got over it though.
No, I didn't.
I made that up. All right. You can find me at Johnny Hoey on Blue Sky, X, and that's pretty much it. I'm a movie pod, just like the movies, and of course TRB with Lacey here. Big stuff coming from us in the coming months, so be a part of it. And you can also join us on Patreon, patreon.com/TRB podcast. Tiers start at just $5. We have a lot of exclusive content over there, mini episodes. We have a Discord server. We're going to be doing watch alongs, hangouts. It's a good time, and it's our way of saying thank you for supporting us. So check it out. And a special thank you to our movie star generals and the silver screen spice runners: Carmelo, John Risi, Jetta Rosewater, Frank Grande, Nick Kratz, Chris Morales, Brian Smith, Danny, Mike Rumori, Brendan McLaughlin, Sneaky Zebra, Dave Hornack, Jolton Jedi DiMaggio, Colin Cormier, Stephen Garrow, and Sachi, our newest movie star general. Thank you, Sachi. And the Spice Runners: David Probus, Neil Shah, Kendall Gelner, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, and the THEFORTWORTHIAN. Thank you all so much. And everyone who supports us in any way that you do, we appreciate it so much. And that's it. So we will see you next time to get nerdy here on Nerdy and Nice. See you around, kids.